The sky was burning, smoke covered the battlefield. Alien machines lay broken. Bodies of soldiers, human and alien, were scattered everywhere. And in the middle of it all, one man stood tall. He was the last human soldier. He had no name here. They called him the Beast of Earth. But he was not a beast. He was just tired that he had fought for the Empire, killed their enemies, won their wars. And now he stood before the Emperor. The Emperor sat on a high throne, his face hidden behind a golden mask. Around him were alien lords, generals and rich traders, all clapping, all cheering. "You have brought us victory," the Emperor said, his voice echoing through the halls. "You shall be rewarded." The human did not move. His armor was cracked, blood dried on his hands. His eyes were cold. The Emperor raised a hand. A gate opened. Chains clanked. A girl was pushed forward. She looked no older than 20. Her skin was pale, her eyes wide with fear. Her wrists were bound with metal. Her hair was dirty, her face bruised. "She is from the planet we conquered," the Emperor said. "A rare one, strong mind. Soft body, yours to keep." The crowd cheered louder. Some laughed. Some shouted jokes in alien tongues. They thought the human would smile, take the reward, use her, break her, but he didn't move. The girl looked up. She met his eyes. She expected pain, orders, chains, but he just stared at her. For a long, silent moment, then he stepped forward. The guard stood ready, thinking he might harm her. But instead he knelt beside her. His hands gently touched the chains. She flinched. "I won't hurt you," he said softly. Then with one sharp pull, he broke the chains with his bare hands. The entire hall went silent. The girl looked at her. Wrists free. The Emperor rose from his throne. "What are you doing? She is not a reward," the human said. "She is not a thing," the lords muttered. Some were angry, some confused. "You dare refuse my gift?" The Emperor asked. The human stood up. He faced the throne, calm and firm. "I didn't fight your war to own someone. I fought because I had no choice. She deserves freedom, not a cage." Gasps filled the room. Some guards raised their weapons. The girl stood behind him, shaking. She couldn't believe it. Number one had ever spoken for her. No one had ever protected her. "Take her," the Emperor ordered. "Punish the girl, break the man." But the human was already moving, fast, faster than any alien had seen before. He picked the girl up and jumped off the stage. Guards rushed in, lasers flew. But the human used the broken pillars as cover. He moved like a ghost, silent, deadly, unstoppable. He reached the outer gate, still carrying the girl. A ship was waiting. A small one, old, dirty, but fast. "Why are you helping me?" The girl whispered. "Because no one helped me." He said. They jumped inside. The engines roared. The ship rose into the sky, bullets flying behind them. The Empire was angry. But they were too late. The human and the girl escaped into the stars. Later that night, inside the ship, she sat on a bed, silent. He sat on the floor, sharpening a broken knife. She watched him. "You didn't even ask my name," she said. "I didn't need to," he replied. "My name is Lyra." He looked up, nodded. "Lyra, and yours?" she asked. He paused. "I don't use it anymore." "Why not?" "Because the Empire took it away." She was quiet. Then she asked something that had been burning in her mind. "Why didn't you take me like they wanted you to?" He looked at her. Not with desire, not with pity, just calm. "I was once like you," he said. "A reward, a slave. Chained and beaten. I know what it feels like." She felt tears in her eyes. "You're free now, Lyra. You don't owe me anything." But deep inside she knew she was not going to run away. She was going to stay, not as a servant, not as a prisoner, but as someone who had found the only man in the galaxy, who still remembered what it meant to be human. The rumors begin. It started in a market. An old alien vendor was telling a story. His voice was rough, but excited. "He broke the chains," he said, "right in front of the Emperor." A young soldier laughed. "That's not true. Humans don't do that." But the story spread from dark prison ships to royal halls, from mining colonies to sky palaces. Everyone was talking about the same thing. The human refused his reward. Far away on a quiet moon, the human sat in silence, his name still unknown. His past still hidden. Beside him sat the girl, Lyra, free but confused. Safe but unsure. She had never been on a ship before. Never seen stars this close, never slept without fear. He gave her space. He didn't talk much, only when needed. That made her trust him more. Inside the Empire's command station, alarms were going off. Admiral Brask slammed his hand on the table. How can one human cause this much chaos? The lower ranks are talking, said a general. They call him the Chainbreaker. Some even think he's a hero. A hero? Brask shouted. He is a mistake. But the Empire knew the truth. Fear was spreading, not because of weapons, but because of an idea that mercy was stronger than power. Meanwhile, the human and Lyra stopped on a frozen asteroid for supplies. They walked quietly through a dark port. Alien eyes followed them, some curious, some angry, some afraid. One shopkeeper whispered, "Is that the human?" Another replied, "No, he would have killed her by now." But when they saw him protect the girl, standing between her and a drunk alien, the whispers turned to stares. She walks free. She speaks. She's not his slave. That night inside the ship, Lyra asked him a question. Why did you fight for the Empire? He didn't answer at first. Then, said softly, because they promised to free Earth, but they lied. Lyra leaned closer. You believe them? I had nothing else left to believe. She looked at him, not as a soldier, not as a killer, but as someone who had been broken. And still stood tall. You could have taken your anger out on me, she said. He shook his head. That's what they expected. Back in the Empire, the Emperor sat in silence, angry, embarrassed. They must be punished, he growled. Both of them. A shadow stepped forward from the darkness, an assassin. She was meant to be owned. Now she walks beside him. The Emperor raised a hand. Find them. Kill the man. Bring the girl back. The assassin bowed. Alive? The Emperor smiled. Only her voice needs to survive. Her pain will tell the galaxy what happens to those who disobey. The next day, Lyra woke up to silence. The ship was cold. Too cold. She walked to the hallway. Hello? No answer. Then she saw him, the human, standing still, blade in hand. A body lay at his feet. A figure dressed in black, eyes open but lifeless. Who was that? She asked. An old message, he replied. Lyra's hand shook. They're hunting us, he nodded. Yes, and they'll send more. In the dark parts of the galaxy, stories kept growing. A pirate captain told his crew, the human is freeing slaves. Maybe it's time we do the same. An alien girl on a prison planet wrote the words, he broke her chains, on the wall. One story. One act. One human. The Empire didn't understand. They ruled with fear. But now they feared a man who refused to rule. Back on the ship, Lyra sat next to him. I want to help, she said. He looked at her. You don't have to. I want to. I'm tired of being quiet. He nodded slowly. Then learn everything. How to fly. How to fight. How to choose your own path. Lyra smiled. It wasn't easy, but it was real. And far away, in a room full of war maps and star charts, a young alien officer whispered to his commander, Sir, what if he's not the threat? The commander raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? The officer looked at the stars. What if he's the warning? Attack in the shadows. It began in a dream. He was running through fire. Not away from it, into it. Children screamed. Metal ships roared in the sky. Cities turned to ash. And in the middle of the flames stood a little girl, no chains, no fear. She looked just like Lyra. She raised her hand to him, but when he reached out, a knife touched his throat. He woke up. Not slowly, not peacefully. He opened his eyes to a shadow. Standing over him, blade in hand, without a sound, he rolled off the bed, grabbed the edge of the metal frame, and used it to block the attack. Sparks flew in the dark. Lyra screamed from the corner. The intruder moved like liquid, fast, trained, merciless. A silent killer sent by the Empire. His face was covered, but the poison on his blade said enough. This wasn't a warning. It was an execution. The human fought with bare hands. His only weapon was instinct. The killer slashed once, missed. Slashed twice, cut his arm, but the third time, the human caught the wrist mid-air and broke it. With a brutal twist, he slammed the assassin into the wall. The killer fell, silent, still. Lyra ran to him. "You're bleeding." "I've bled before," he replied. She stared at the body on the floor. "He tried to kill you." "No," the human said. "He tried to kill us." Later, he opened the dead assassin's cloak. A small device blinked inside. "A tracker," he said. "That's how they found us." He crushed it under his boot. Then turned to Lyra. "They won't stop now." She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She stood up straighter. "Then we don't stop either." He nodded for the first time. He smiled, just a little. Far away, inside a deep vault on a forgotten moon, a hooded alien placed a glowing screen on a table. It played silent footage, the human breaking chains, the girl walking free. He turned to a group of outcasts, rebels, slaves and soldiers without flags. "This is the one," he said. Not a warrior, a message. A message that was spreading faster than the Empire could kill it. Back on the ship, Lyra helped clean his wound. Her hands were shaking, but she didn't stop. "You've seen worse, haven't you?" she asked. He nodded. "Was it Earth?" He didn't speak for a while, then said, "They promised to save my people. They said we'd join the stars, but when we got weak, they took everything," Lyra whispered. "And you survived?" He looked at her. "I escaped." That night, Lyra stood in the hallway, staring at the stars through the window. The assassin's body was now floating in space, drifting into the black. She whispered to herself, "They fear him. That's why they want him gone." Then she turned and said it out loud, "Maybe the galaxy needs to fear him a little more." The human was in the control room, scanning systems. Suddenly a red light blinked. Another ship. "Coming fast?" He looked at the screen. It wasn't Empire class. It was something older, rougher. Pirates? No, something worse. He zoomed in on the signal. Human. There was no sound. Not in the sky, not on the ground. Just the quiet hum of the ship, waiting to die. Lyra stood frozen, watching the radar blink red. 1. Then 2, then 6. The human spoke calmly but fast. "Strap in." She didn't ask why. She obeyed, because when his voice changed like that, it meant someone was about to die. Above them, the black sky broke open. A pirate cruiser dropped out of warp, old, loud, full of scars. Behind it, 2 sleek hunter crafts. Not Empire ships. Not official, mercenaries, paid hunters. They weren't here to arrest anyone. They were here to make sure bodies never got found. The human pushed the engines. The ship screamed like a living thing. They dove down toward a desert moon, wild, red, and full of storms. Lyra gripped her seat. "Do we have weapons?" She shouted. "1 cannon," he said. "Is that enough? For 1 shot?" They hit. The atmosphere hard. Fire licked the wings. The ship shook like it was coming apart. The pursuers followed, fast, deadly, confident. Lyra watched as dust clouds rose below them, mountains made of crystal, storms made of static. "Where are we landing?" He replied, "We're not landing, we're crashing." The ship slammed into the desert, metal bent, lights went black. Silence returned, but it was different now. Now it had blood in it. Lyra opened her eyes. Smoke filled the cockpit. He was already moving, already loading supplies into a bag. She coughed. "They'll come looking. They're already here." The 2 ran into the red canyons. The world around them hummed with strange energy. Red sand moved like liquid beneath. Their boots. Above, engines roared. Ships were circling. "We can't outrun them," Lyra said. "We don't outrun. We vanish." They reached a cave, carved by time, shaped by wind. Inside, glowing roots lit the walls. The air was heavy, old, watching. The human stopped. "This place isn't empty." Lyra stepped beside him. "What is it?" He looked at the strange marks on the cave walls. Not human, not alien, history. Far above, one of the mercenaries spoke through his helmet. "The signal stopped here. They're hiding in that canyon." The leader, a tall man with sharp eyes, grinned. "Let them hide. We'll smoke them out." He turned to his crew. "Burn the desert." Inside the cave, Lyra stared at the symbols. They look like ... Earth letters. The human ran a hand across the stone. Old colonies. Before the Empire, before the war, Lyra's voice shook. You mean humans were here before? Long before. Then something beeped on his wrist. A mine warning? A scan. They're dropping fire. Above, the hunters launched plasma bombs into the canyon mouths. Flames raced across the sand. Whole cliffs exploded. The heat reached the cave entrance. Smoke began pouring in. We can't stay, Lyra shouted, but the human was already digging. Behind the carvings, he found a metal door, buried for years. A vault? He smiled. No, a tunnel. They dropped inside just before the fire reached them. Darkness swallowed them. Then lights flickered on old tech. Still alive? A hallway opened, long and deep? Lyra looked around. This isn't just a tunnel. No, he said. It's a way out. Back on the surface, the mercenary leader looked at the wreckage. Nothing moved. He tapped his helmet. Target neutralized. But behind him, a single piece of rock rolled away. A blinking light was left behind. A decoy tracker. They had escaped. Again, in the hidden tunnel below, Lyra looked at the human. You knew this place was here? No, he said. I just knew they wouldn't expect us to go deeper. She touched the wall. Where does it lead? He looked ahead. Eyes sharp, cold, somewhere forgotten. Somewhere the Empire doesn't control, and maybe somewhere we start fighting back. Truth about the human that tunnel was breathing with air, but with memory the walls whispered old. Sounds, footsteps, fire, screams, and one voice, a child's voice. Run. The human froze. He had heard it before, not in this place, but in the ruins of his past. He turned slowly, nothing there, only shadows. Lyra walked ahead, flashlight in hand. This place gives me chills, she said. He didn't reply. He was staring at the wall, half buried in the dust. He saw something small, metal, human. He picked it up, a broken dog tag. It had a name burned into it, not his name, but one he remembered. His brother's. Lyra looked back. You okay? He put the tag in his pocket. Let's keep moving. The tunnel opened into a wide chamber. Old earth tech covered the walls, blinking faintly. Still alive after decades. Lyra gasped. This was a human base. He nodded. One of the first. Before the Empire erased them. Why did they hide? They didn't. They were wiped out. Lyra whispered. But you survived. He looked away. No, I escaped. Later, inside the chamber, he sat alone. Lyra found a datapad and turned it on. Old video logs appeared. She watched blurry faces, humans, smiling, working, building, then screaming, then silence. She looked at him. Was this your home? He didn't look at the screen. No, but it could have been. He finally spoke. I was 9 when the Empire came to Earth. They didn't come with bombs. They came with medicine, with peace. Lyra listened quietly. They gave us tech, helped our leaders, then bought our armies. Then took our children. His voice dropped. I was sold to them. Fought in blood pits. Watched my friends die with smiles on their faces because it was better than being forgotten. She reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. You still became something more, she said. No, he replied. I became what they needed, not what I wanted. Suddenly, the lights flickered red, a proximity alert. He stood up fast. Checked the screen. A ship had landed outside. Lyra looked worried. Them again? He zoomed in on the scan and froze. No. This one's different. Outside the canyon, a dark ship stood silent. One figure stepped out, wearing old Earth combat armor, but modified with alien tech. The helmet lifted. Human face. But not just any human, the one from the wanted logs. Commander. Kale. The Empire's human weapon. The one who never broke. Never rebelled. Inside the chamber, Lyra stared at the screen. He's human. Like you. He nodded slowly. He's worse than me. Flashback. A younger Kale, laughing as alien generals gave him medals. Standing over the corpses of rebels. Smiling as children were taken away, the perfect servant. Lyra asked, Did you know him? The human nodded. We trained together in the same cell. He chose loyalty, I chose pain. Outside, Kale activated his scanner. The trail led straight into the canyon. He smiled. Found you, brother. Inside the base, Lyra packed supplies. What? Do? We don't fight him, the human said. Not yet. Then we run again? He shook his head. No, we don't run anymore. We make a move. She blinked. A move? He opened a secret hatch beneath the chamber, and inside it, a map of old resistance tunnels. This base connects to others. He said, hundreds, forgotten by time. Lyra smiled. Then we're not alone. The human looked at Kale's face on the screen again. Let him come, he said. This time. I end it. The spark of rebellion she sang in the dark, a girl, young, skin pale, eyes tired. Locked inside a prison orbiting a dead moon, she had no name anymore, no voice. But still, she sang, not loud, not joyful, but steady. Because someone had told her, a man broke his chains. And the girl walked beside him, not behind. That song traveled not through signals, not through screens, but through hearts. Guards whispered it, miners hummed it. Even machines seemed to pause when it echoed through vents. The fire had started. And no one could stop it now. Somewhere deep in an abandoned resistance base, Lyra stood before a crowd. She was nervous. Hands shaking, voice dried. These weren't just humans. They were aliens who had been slaves, soldiers who had lost wars, engineers, left behind by history. And they were all waiting to hear her speak. She stepped forward. I was given as a reward. Like a chair, like a pet, no one moved, but he didn't take me. He freed me. He gave me the right to choose. And now I choose to stand. They listened, not because she was powerful, but because she was real, because her voice didn't come from pride. It came from pain. And survival. Elsewhere, the Empire was watching closely. The Emperor's eyes burned into a hologram. Who gave her permission to speak? She didn't ask, the Admiral replied. The Emperor leaned forward. Kill the man, break the girl. Let the galaxy remember what disobedience costs. Back in the old tunnels, the human was rebuilding weapons, not to destroy cities, but to open cages. He trained rebels in silence. He taught them not to fight like soldiers, but like ghosts. Victory isn't taking a city, he told them. It's when your enemy fears you in their sleep. Lyra came to him that night. I think they believe in me, she said. He looked at her, not surprised, but proud. You believed first. That's why they do now. Across the stars, sparks ignited. On a farming moon, slaves refused to work. On a mining ship, workers jammed the engines with metal from old freedom symbols. In the Empire's own academy, a young alien painted "She Walked Free" on a statue. Commander Kale watched all of it. From his warship, he frowned. They're not following the man, he said. They're following the girl, he turned to his soldiers. Change of plan, bring her to me alive. In the base, the rebels intercepted a message. They're coming for Lyra. The human heard it. His face didn't change. We make our move first. They loaded the ship. Not with bombs, but with evidence, recordings of Empire crimes, survivor stories, old Earth history that had been erased. Lyra said, we'll spread the truth. He nodded, and when truth spreads, fear follows. As their ship took off, silent fighters rose with them. Old machines, repurposed by the forgotten. One rebel smiled and said, this isn't a fleet. It's a memory with teeth. And far across the void, a slave girl in a prison heard a voice through a hack screen. It was Lyra, saying, I am not a reward. I am not yours. I am the start of your end. The girl smiled and sang again. This time, louder. The final stand. The Empire woke to silence. No alarms. No orders, just the quiet hum of fear. A message had been sent to every ship, every colony, every city. She was never yours. He was never broken. We are coming, and we are not afraid. The Emperor read the message, then he laughed. Let them come. Above the Empire's capital, a planet made of towers and chains, the sky broke open, not with missiles. With memories, hundreds of old ships, stolen, repaired, repainted, rose like ghosts from forgotten wars. At the front was a small ship. Inside it, Lyra, and beside her, the human. Lyra's voice came through every channel, not angry, not loud, just true. I was given as a gift. But I became a voice, and voices do not die quietly. On the ground, the Emperor stood in his golden armor. Around him were guards, tanks, drones. Crush them, he ordered, but his own soldiers paused. Some looked up, some looked afraid. One dropped his weapon. Inside the rebel ship, the human loaded the last device, not a bomb, but a data core. Once this plugs into their system, he told Lara, the truth spreads, the lies fall. She nodded. Then we ended together. Suddenly, his ship was hit hard. It spun. Alarms screamed. Another vessel dropped through the clouds. Dark, sharp, deadly on its side, the mark of Earth. Inside it, Commander Kale. He landed like a shadow beside the Emperor. You said kill the man. Break the girl, Kale said. Let me do both. The rebel ship crashed into the palace edge, but the human and Lyra survived. Burned, bleeding but standing, they ran through the old halls built on pain, and then they reached the throne room. Kale was waiting. Alone. No soldiers, just him. And the silence. The human stepped forward. It ends here, Kale. Kale smiled. It already ended. You just never stopped fighting. He drew his blade. One more time, brother. They clashed like lightning. Fists, steel, fire. History. Each strike told a story. Of cages, of battles, of choices. Kale fought for power. The human fought for those who never had a choice. Lyra watched, but didn't run. She moved past them, reached the central terminal, plugged in the data core. And hit send across the galaxy. Screens lit up. Children saw the truth. Soldiers saw the lies. And people everywhere remembered how to say no. In the throne room, Kale fell to one knee, breathing, broken. The human stood over him, but didn't kill him. You were never my enemy, he said. You were just afraid to be free. Kale looked up and said nothing. Then the Emperor arrived. His mask cracked, his voice shaking. You think you've won? Lyra stepped forward. No, she said. We chose. That was the victory. She didn't shoot him. She didn't need to, because the Empire fell without a scream, not from war, but from the sound of millions whispering the same thing. We are not yours. Later, the skies were quiet again. The palace was empty, and in a quiet corner of the galaxy, a girl once given as a gift sat beside the man who set her free. She asked him, "What happens now?" He looked at the stars. We live, and somewhere, on a planet once ruled by fear. A child wrote 4 words. On a wall, she walked beside him.